What if the biggest family secret was never about who left, but about who everyone chose to stand beside? Stay with us, because the final truth changes everything. And if you love unforgettable family stories with shocking twists, hit subscribe now and join thousands of viewers who never miss the biggest reveals. Christine sat quietly as another conversation about moving unfolded. But this time, the words carried a weight that no one expected. Because it was no longer just about changing cities or starting fresh. It was about watching another piece of her family drift farther away, while she struggled to understand why the place everyone seemed to be choosing was somewhere that did not include her. North Carolina had somehow become the new destination for several of her children, and every announcement felt like another reminder that life was changing faster than she could accept. She tried to smile through the conversation and support their decisions, but behind every encouraging word, there was another question she could not ignore. Was she losing the close bond she believed would always keep her family together? As each child spoke about new opportunities, fresh beginnings, and exciting plans, Christine found herself wondering whether those dreams had quietly replaced the life they once imagined sharing with her. The answers never came easily, and the silence between those moments often revealed more than the conversations themselves. What made everything even more emotional was that this was not simply about distance. It was about memories, relationships, and the invisible connections that continue to shape families long after children become adults. For years, Christine had been known as the mother who always been. For many years, the children were raised within a unique family structure where responsibilities often extended beyond traditional expectations. Older siblings naturally helped care for younger ones, and emotional support sometimes flowed in unexpected directions. Instead of parents always comforting children, there were moments when children found themselves comforting parents, carrying emotional responsibilities that many families never experience. Experts often describe these situations as emotionally demanding because children may begin feeling responsible for maintaining peace or providing reassurance long before they are ready. While every family has its own dynamics, those early experiences can continue influencing relationships decades later. As adults, many children naturally seek environments where they feel emotionally secure and familiar, even if those choices unintentionally disappoint someone they love. That reality makes every relocation far more meaningful than simply choosing a different state on the map. Another important layer emerged as family members reflected on friendships formed during childhood. Some relationships had always extended beyond individual households, creating bonds that felt more like lifelong partnerships than ordinary sibling connections. Growing up together through unique circumstances meant that certain cousins, siblings, and relatives shared experiences few outsiders could fully understand. When life became especially difficult, those lifelong connections became sources of comfort and stability. Choosing to live closer to those people did not necessarily mean choosing one parent over another. Instead, it reflected a desire to remain surrounded by individuals who shared the same memories, understood the same struggles, and carried the same emotional history. Those invisible connections often become stronger after significant life changes, making relocation feel less like leaving home and more like searching for a place where healing can continue. Even as these explanations surfaced, emotions remained complicated, because understanding a decision does not always erase the sadness that comes with it. Christine openly admitted that watching her children build lives elsewhere sometimes left her questioning whether she had somehow fallen short despite years of dedication and sacrifice. Her honesty sparked empathy from many viewers.
As the conversations continued, another layer of the story slowly began to emerge, and it was one that few people had considered at first glance. Because while many focused on where the family members were moving, almost no one stopped to ask what they were truly searching for. Sometimes people do not leave because they want distance from someone. They leave because they are trying to move closer to a feeling they have been missing for a very long time. That realization changed everything, because every decision suddenly appeared less like a rejection and more like a search for peace. Even so, emotions rarely follow logic, and Christine could not simply silence the questions running through her mind. Every new chapter in her children's lives reminded her that time never stands still, and that the role of a parent naturally changes as children become adults. The house that was once filled with constant activity, laughter, and family gatherings had become quieter, and every empty room carried memories of moments that could never be reached.
As the family continued adjusting to another season of change, everyone slowly realized that the real story had never been about a single move or a single conversation. It had always been about how every person carried the past in a different way. While some searched for fresh beginnings, others searched for familiar faces that reminded them of happier times, and those differences created emotional moments that could easily be misunderstood from the outside. Christine tried to focus on the positive, reminding herself that every child deserved the freedom to build a future wherever opportunities appeared. Yet every celebration was accompanied by a quiet reminder that another chair around the dinner table might remain empty, and another family gathering would require longer drives, careful planning, and difficult goodbyes. She knew adulthood naturally changed families, but knowing something does not always make accepting it any easier. The emotional weight became even more noticeable as conversations turned toward the future rather than the past. Questions that once seemed simple suddenly carried much greater meaning. Where would holidays be celebrated? Who would host family gatherings? Which grandchildren would grow up seeing each other every week, and which would rely on video calls and occasional visits? These were not dramatic questions for television. They were the everyday realities that countless families experience as children establish careers, relationships, and homes in different parts of the country. The difference was that this family had spent years sharing much of their journey in public, making deeply personal transitions subjects of endless discussion among viewers. Each emotional reaction became analyzed from every possible angle, creating opinions that often overlooked the complicated human emotions behind every decision. As viewers reflected on everything that had happened, another important realization slowly emerged. Families rarely remain exactly as they once were. Childhood creates one version of home, while adulthood creates another. Parents eventually become advisors instead of daily caregivers. Siblings create households of their own, and traditions evolve to fit changing circumstances. None of these changes automatically weaken family bonds, although they can certainly make those bonds feel different. Christine herself seemed caught between remembering the family that once gathered under one roof and accepting the reality that love now existed across several different homes, separated by hundreds of miles. That transition represented one of the most difficult emotional adjustments any parent can experience, because it requires celebrating independence while quietly grieving the end of an era that can never truly return. At the same time, those choosing new paths carried emotional burdens of their own. Building a future away from loved ones often means balancing excitement with guilt. Knowing every new opportunity also creates distance. Replace the routines that once defined daily life. Although those adjustments require effort, they also demonstrate that meaningful relationships depend far more on commitment than geography. That hopeful perspective offered a gentle reminder that physical distance does not automatically measure emotional closeness, even when it occasionally feels that way during moments of loneliness. As public conversations continued, many viewers began sharing their own personal experiences, describing children who had moved across the country, parents who struggled with empty homes, and siblings separated by careers, military service, or education. Those stories revealed why this family situation resonated with so many people, because beneath the unique circumstances existed emotions shared by millions of families around the world. The desire to remain close, the sadness of watching children grow, the excitement of new opportunities, and the challenge of embracing change are experiences that cross every background, culture, and community. In many ways, the Brown family's journey became less about television and more about the universal experience of learning how families continue loving one another through constant change. As one chapter quietly came to an end, another remained unwritten, leaving everyone wondering what the future would ultimately bring. Would these moves strengthen relationships by creating fresh appreciation for time spent together? Would future reunions become even more meaningful
because distance made every visit feel special? Or would new responsibilities, careers, and growing families slowly create additional separation that no one could fully predict? Those questions remain unanswered, reminding us that family stories never truly conclude. They simply continue evolving. One decision, one conversation, and
The story may be over, but the questions are only beginning. Tell us whose side you are on in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe now, because the next unbelievable family story is even more shocking, and you will not want to miss it.